Hello, Richard from budgetguitarist.com. Today I'm giving away a free acoustic guitar IR file along with 3 HX Stomp patches. If you have a Helix, they'll work for you. If you've got a Pod Go, the patches are not compatible, but over on the website, budgetguitarist.com, I've got screenshots of all of the settings, so with a little bit of patience, you can get these exact same sounds. Let's get started. Okay, so why would you want an acoustic guitar IR file if you're doing gigs? 4 reasons. Number 1, do you really want to bring a fragile, expensive acoustic guitar to a gig? Now, maybe you got a cheap acoustic. I unfortunately don't. My acoustic guitar is my most expensive instrument. I'd rather not bring it to a bar or a coffee shop or whatever if I can help it. Number 2, electric guitar is way easier to play than acoustic guitar. The action is lower. I can play this guitar a lot better. Acoustic guitar, you got heavier strings, you got higher action. Why not play those parts on an electric? Alex Lifeson of Rush does. Porcupine Tree, when they were a band, used to do it all the time. A lot of bands simulate acoustic guitars with their electrics. They do it a little differently than we're doing it, but same concept. Number 3, if you've got a song that you're doing at a gig and it goes from acoustic guitar to electric and back to acoustic, it's kind of nice to be able to do it all on one instrument, unless you can afford a roadie who is going to fast switch, like hand you guitars. But if you can do that and you're playing local bars, well, that's awesome. That is really awesome. But for those of us who don't have a roadie, this is a good way to do it. And number 4, it's kind of neat to be able to do an entire gig on just one instrument and have 2 totally different guitar sounds depending on the song. So yeah, this video is busted up into 3 parts. In part 1, that's this part here, we're going to talk about it. Part 2, I'm going to play samples of each of the 3 patches. And then part 3, we're going to nerd out and probably lose 75% of the viewers. And I'm going to show you on screen how to tweak these patches to sound good for your setup. Okay, to make an acoustic guitar IR file, I think it's important to understand how these are made so you can understand the limitations. In order to make an acoustic guitar IR file, you have to start with an electric and you have to start with an acoustic. And then what you do is you record a passage on the electric, you record the same passage on the acoustic, like with a mic on it. Then the computer compares the EQ curves and it generates an EQ curve for the difference. And so by using that, you can apply that curve to your electric to make it sound more like an acoustic. If you don't understand that, just pretend it's witchcraft and that'll work just fine. Or magic. Magic is good too. So that's what I did to generate this IR file. And I don't mind saying it took me about a week to learn how to do this. If you want to learn more about the process, send me an email at richard@budgetguitarist.com. I'm not going to make a video because that's not the target audience for this channel. Okay, so some caveats. Because of the way they're made, if you've got like a high output humbucker pickup and you use this patch, it's not quite going to sound right. If you've got a Strat or anything with single coils and P90s and you use this patch, it's not going to sound right. What you need is an electric guitar with a low to medium output humbucker. Now, you can play anything through it and it will work, but it won't sound like what you'll hear in the video. At some point in time, I'll probably go ahead and make an IR file for a Strat and an IR file for a high output humbucker. I have a couple, so those could be different videos. Okay, the 3 patches. The first patch is full, which I tried to just get like an even sound among all 6 strings so that it just sounds like a really good even acoustic. For the second patch, it's exaggerated to sound, I don't know, almost like an exaggerated acoustic. It's got a lot of crispy high end, crispy, now I'm hungry. And it's got a lot of full low end, but it's kind of scooped in the mid range. And then for the third patch, I kind of combined the 2. So I tried to get equal volume on all the strings, plus a little bit of brightness from the second patch. A little bit of that high end content. Okay, let's get to the playing. Okay, so here we are inside of HX Edit. I've got BG Acoustic Full Plus, basically. And so here's my path. I'm coming into the deluxe compressor. So I've got this set to 4:1 ratio. I'm letting a bunch of the attack get through. These are pretty typical settings. And then on the top path, you can see from there, I'm going into an EQ, a 10-band EQ, where I am basically toning down the low end and leaving everything else alone. And then from that, I'm going directly into my acoustic guitar IR file. After that, I'm going into this reverb, which is just basically the legacy hall. And then this block here is just, I'm using this to record right now. Simultaneously to this path, I've got another one here, a second path, where I've got the acoustic sim pedal turned on, and I got the top jacked up and the bottom all the way down. And then after that, I've got an EQ designed to absolutely remove all of the frequencies 500 hertz or lower. And the reason I'm doing this is I want the body of the sound to come from the top path, not the bottom. This I just want to add shimmer. So if I come over here, I can kind of mix these so that you can hear. So here's both. Right? So if I get rid of the top path, see how you can barely hear it. I've got it down. Let me turn it up to exaggerate it. Okay, there you go. So what I'm doing here is by separating the two paths out, in this sense, I've got a lot more control over it. So I can blend really well. So I can bring it up. Or I can really reduce it. But it gives me a lot of control, as you can see. So that's why I have the two separate paths. Okay, so how would you modify this sound? Well, first of all, if you want to add more shimmer, the best way to do that is what I just did here. You turn up the turn up B until it sounds like what you want. A little overkill, huh? But you can fine tune it that way. And then in terms of the body of the guitar, if you want some more low end, you can bring these up, and to me it's a little boomy, but you know, it's up to you. Depends on what speakers you're listening to. You know, and then you can take out some of the mids if you want. Remember when you're using these sliders in the 10 band that when you're moving them that much, there's not that big of an impact. As you can see, it's only a -2.5 decibels here. So if I really want to get rid of mid, I'd turn it down that far. Or, you know, if I wanted to exaggerate it, I could, let's give it a really big boost here. You know, so in isolation, it's hard to EQ this, but if you're playing along with backing tracks or recording or with a live band, you're going to want to tweak these settings. So yeah, if you want more body, I would go to this top block EQ and play with the lower frequencies and low mid. If you want more shimmer, I would just go in here and just increase the B level until you get it exactly where you want. One easy improvement to this patch would be to replace this reverb here, the Legacy Hall, with one of the more modern reverbs. My issue with the Line 6 Helix fancy reverbs is out of the box, they all sound ridiculous. And so you really have to tweak them. But that's a whole nother episode. So there you go. I hope you made it this far in the video. If you did, Congratulations. Thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy this, please consider subscribing, clicking the bell, giving it a thumbs up, and most importantly, tuning in next week, because we will see you again next Friday at 5.